But like Andy has these phenomenal characteristics, but then realizing like, oh, he's not that much different than me. Keaton's not that much different than me. And you get around these really, really big people and you realize like, oh, he's just some guy. He's just some guy who really fucking tries hard, right? And I started to see that in my mid-20s, and I was like, well, what if I try really, really hard? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you start stacking little wins, and before you know it, you're like, so wait, I can do anything.
Guys, where are we at right now?
We're in the ocean, bro.
We're in the fucking ocean, dude.
You know where we're at.
Cabo, baby.
We're in Cabo, baby.
We're in the ocean in Cabo.
So
we're on a 3-hour cruise.
So why did we decide to put this mastermind together? What was the consensus? We want to get good people together. We want to elevate to new levels. What was? Because you guys, you normally don't do things like this. You're You're not the fucking speaker.
Well, no, we do these things. We do these things. So this is what we do. So I think all the biggest moments in my life have gone from intimate groups like this, right? And it's not the masterminds where we're on stage, it's the moments after that.
I love that.
Right? So it's when we all go to dinner, we smoke cigars, we sit around, we talk, and that's when all the big breakthroughs have come through, right?
Yep.
So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to throw smaller groups like that, right? Yep. And it's not about how to set up an LLC, or it's how to do taxes or business strategy. A lot of it's how to interact with other high-performing individuals and just see how they act, right? And that's what I take from this.
Sean, why'd you make the move to come out here, man?
Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, I want to be this close to Rob Bailey, right? Play his music when we're working out in the gym, and then you get to hang out and get to know him. And it's like, you know, you get inspired by individuals, and then you want to learn, how did you get to where you're at? Like, what can I do to level up? How can I grow? And just, honestly, man, there's not a lot of people that think the way we do and have the goals and the ambition that we do. Most of society gave up a long time ago. So not just Rob and Keaton and Andy, like I love these guys, but also everyone else that showed up here, like they have that same desire in themselves to do something great with their lives. So it's so cool when you get together, because then you build those relationships and you start to cultivate, you know, new opportunities in the future. And so, man, just being here, it's so fun, number one, but then you learn, you grow, and you build real relationships with people that, you know, are going to help you level up in life. So that's why I'm here.
I wanted to ask Rob this. So Rob has been known in the space for a long time, him and his wife, Dana. How the fuck do you get to, for all the people out there that are listening, how do you get to a level of mindset where it just feels concrete, it feels undeniable, that self-belief in yourself when you're trying to go and do new things, but you haven't stacked those wins yet? How do you start that process of self-belief? Do you believe it's a characteristic that you have just inside of you? Do you believe that it's through fucking suffering? Where does that shit come from?
Yeah, so I think for me, knowing that it's possible, right? And I think that, like, the same thing, being around all these people, I think one of the biggest takeaways is, like, Andy's standing right here, but like Andy has these phenomenal characteristics, but then realizing like, oh, he's not that much different than me. Keaton's not that much different than me. And you get around these really, really big people and you realize like, oh, he's just some guy. He's just some guy who really fucking tries hard, right? And I started to see that in my mid-20s, and I was like, well, what if I try really, really hard? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you start stacking little wins, and before you know it, you're like, so wait, I can do anything. Like, I own international houses. Like, we're staying at my house in Cabo. We're on a fucking 110-foot yacht. Like, that's not in my family. My family's never done. My family doesn't have passports, right? And I'm down here getting dual citizenship in fucking Mexico. So I start to realize, like, wait, so if I can do anything, what's on the table? And then you realize, like, all it does is you have to try. You're gonna fail. You're gonna fuck up. It's not gonna work. But every once in a while it is, and every failure you learn,
100%.
And you just keep doing that over and over. And then, dude, everything changes. Your brain completely changes, because then you don't look at it like,
you see the world from a different
right now.
vantage point.
I'm gonna buy a yacht.
Yep.
Like, I don't have the money to buy a yacht right now, but like, I'm gonna buy a yacht. 2 years from now, this is a small yacht 2 years from now. But it's realizing the possibility and what you're capable of.
It's like what I was talking about with Sean on like the last one we just did. It's like stacking that trust and those wins with yourself. You build such a reputation with yourself on the discipline, on the trust, on the things that you've executed on, that it's undeniable that like, oh, I'm gonna buy a yacht. You're like, I don't have the money, but like it's there. Like it's not 99% there. The belief is 100% there. because you have that reputation of trust with yourself.
Reputation of, I like that. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. It's like, I know I'm capable of anything.
Yep.
I know Dane is capable of anything. And I think that's the biggest thing in the coaching space is it's not teaching people the logistics of it. Because if you want logistics of it, go Google it.
Facts.
How to buy real estate. Like, it's not how to buy real estate. It's the hunger to keep buying real estate, knowing what you're capable of, right? So if you want to buy real estate, you want to buy Airbnbs, you want to do something like that, like, it's fucking easy, right? You save up $30,000,
Yep.
you put it down a house, you start Airbnb a house. You can Airbnb a room in your house.
I got a really good question for both of you guys. So I'll start with Sean, I'm gonna go to you. So let's say, because a lot of people on this boat are, the people that we're looking up to, they've done a little bit better than most. So after you've done a little bit better than most, after you're above I call it the above average place. This is where I think that most people in this world go to die. They go to making that first 6 figures. They make my first $250,000, I start killing it, and they sell out. What Andy says, they sell out. They sell their dreams to the nice car, the nice house they like to have. What keeps you going after you hit those goals that you set out yourself when you were younger, right? You get the nice car, the house, you've gotten that comfortable life. What drives you past that financial point? What is it inside of you specifically, and then most people that you think?
So if you're doing it for the stuff, at some point you're gonna just settle. I do it for the way I feel, and like the growth that I'm trying to achieve is never gonna be complete. Like, I love conquering new challenges. I love the fight. I love the adversity. Like, I love the journey, man. It's not even about the stuff. Like, being here is dope, but like, working out with Rob is even way fucking sicker because we're throwing weights around, we're in that moment, we're in that fight, we're in that battle. So it's like, for me, bro, I was doing the stuff that we're doing now, like in a jail cell, facing life in prison. And I started doing that every day, and it completely shifted my perspective and my energy, and I started actually loving myself for the first time in my life. That feeling, there's nothing that compares to that feeling. That's why you're all chasing the money and the success, and you want to be on social media because you want that feeling. So the stuff isn't going to do it for you. You have to cultivate that within, right? Then you accumulate stuff on the journey, and it's cool. New level. Like, you're doing this dope stuff, but you don't need that stuff to make you feel the way you want to feel. It's a shift in your perspective, at least for me it was, and just finally admitting to myself who I wanted to be and just going all in. And once I made that decision, everything changed for me. And then, like, you make money, you speak on stages, or you get opportunities. That's dope. Like, we want to do that, but we don't need to have that stuff to create the joy or the happiness or the intrinsic growth that we've acquired. So that, for me, like, I would do the same thing I'm doing here if I was back in that jail cell, right? Like, I know what I have to do every day to feel happy and to be a good person, to share that energy with the world, and that's my mission. And it's like, when you stop worrying about the stuff, it comes, right? When you like try to chase it and try to chase it and try to chase it, you're forcing it, man. And you're putting off that scarcity mindset, that hungry, like that energy that pushes it away. So for me, it's just all about, man, creating a life that I truly love and cherish, and then sharing that life with everyone I come across.
It's like the intention. Like, people like think, oh, I want to go and get this thing, I want to get this car. It's like, you're doing all this shit for what? I want to live, I want to give that purpose. But it's like, you're doing it for that fucking car.
Yeah.
For that, when you get that, you're unfulfilled.
Yeah.
But what's your take on that?
I think the stuff's fantastic, right? Because I think this is almost hard to comprehend, right? Like, it's hard to be like yacht in Cabo, hanging out with powerful people. So my opinion about the stuff is, because I have a lot of stuff, right?
I like shit too.
But I think that the stuff is really easy to see, right? So like, I'm a 911 guy, so I have a GT2 RS. There's no better car than a GT2 RS. So like, I'm done. There's nowhere to go from here, right?
Maxed out.
So the cool thing with me is like, okay, you get the house, you get this house, you get the watch, you get the cars, you get all this stuff, and I think that's a really great first step, right? And it's easy to see. It's really easy to understand like what a Rolex is. And then you get 10 grand, you get a Rolex, and then you're like,
I do think it's important that people get one or two things so that identity starts to shift.
Exactly.
I love that you said
Exactly.
first step.
And I think it's a really, really great first step. And then what you do is you get to a point in time where you're like, all right, cool, I can have any car I want, right? And you realize like, cars are dope.
You go buy another car.
Yeah, but it's just another fucking car, right?
Yep.
You can get another watch, you can get another house, you can do all these different things. And I think once you get past the first step of the stuff, then you get to the second step, and you're like, cool, how do I carve out weekends with my powerful friends? How do I control more of my time? How do I have a better relationship? Because like, when I was chasing stuff, like, I'm blessed that my relationship was just magically amazing, but now it's like, cool, how do I make my relationship like the top fucking that it can be, right? And I think, once again, chasing the stuff's really easy. It's simple numbers. It's easy to understand. Then once you get past this stuff, that's when it's like, it's stuff that doesn't have a price tag on it. Like, what's a friendship worth? Like, my friendship with Keaton, there's zero fucking price. Like a GT2, I know what it costs. $390,000. It's an easy fucking number. I can do the math on how to buy that. How to get a friendship, like my friendship with Keaton, or how to get a relationship with my wife. There's no price on that. Or how to be, I mean, back to what he said, to have the right mindset of how you operate. Like, what's the price on that, right? There's no fucking P&L you can write out or business plan to do that. That's like this magical fucking step. So I think that stuff is great to get you on the right track because it's an easy target. But I think the most important thing is after you hit the easy targets is to get to the bigger picture. And that's how you truly master life. And I think that's what's cultivated on this boat, right? Because we all have stuff, right? That's why these masterminds are priced so high. Because we want to make sure that the people here are already done with the first step. Ooh. They've already got the simple shit, right? They've already got the house. They already drive a brand new BMW or whatever the fuck they drive. But the first step's over. And now it's the second step, which is like cultivating those really big relationships, how to operate with other people, how to feel safe. That's what it is.
It's so funny though, because you have to, like, people tell you that shit. I'm like learning. You gotta like look up to these guys and they tell you that, but you have to get the fucking car first.
You have to.
Or the watch first before you fucking understand what that shit means. Because you're like, oh, easy for you to say, like, if I could just get there.
Yeah.
And then
you have to know that you can achieve results. Like it changes the way you think and operate. You know. If you haven't accumulated stuff, you haven't gotten results, there's always this like unknown factor, like, am I good enough? Can I do it? And like Rob said, once you master that level, then you see the more fruitful things in life, like relationships, experiences. But there are levels, right? You have to do that.
And you can build, once again, I'm talking about the second step is relationships, it's mastering yourself. You can do that prior to everything else. But the thing is, like, now that I've mastered the money part, like, I can buy my parents a house. I retired my parents. I can help my brother with any project he wants.
Do you think that would say is like the third step of like fulfill? Like, what's the third? Is there like a third level?
I only had 2 steps. I don't know.
There's like 2 steps, but like, is that more of like what is the third for you? Because I think once you get to that third, it's like that's your choice.
So I think the biggest thing for me is that, it's not even part of the steps, but it's always consistent. Is freedom, right? Mm-hmm. And Alex Hermosi called me up and he said, What is freedom? And I was like, well, it's doing whatever you want. That's what I thought. Like, I didn't even really know how to answer. I was like, I can do whatever I want. And he's like, no, freedom's options. And that fucking blew my mind. And I was like, wait. Okay. And he's like, so if you have to close a deal, you'll drive your number down forever to just make sure you get that deal done. Because you don't have any options. Mm-hmm. But if you have options, you can walk into a deal and say, nah, I don't want to take that. I have other options out there, and walk out because you have more, right? You have leverage. So I started thinking about what options were, and I was like, well, options are money, right? Like, I can solve problems. So, like, if my parents are down on their money, the less money they have, the less freedom they have, because they can't. If my dad needs a new fucking knee, my dad just got his knee replaced, right? If he's worried about working, he can't get his knee replaced. Yep. So his level of freedom drops. But if I bought my parents a house and I have them on payroll, right? He can go get his fucking knee replaced, no problem. He has nothing to worry about. And like, dude, that's fucking freedom. He can fix it. He can do whatever he wants. So once I really started realizing that's the other big thing for me. So like, my level 3 is I want everyone to look at me as their biggest resource in their life.
I love that shit.
Because growing up, I felt like I didn't have resources, right? Like, I didn't have anyone I could look to that could be like, hey man, I need help with this. Whether it's information, whether it's finances, whether it's just like fucking help.
Shit? If you did though, it's so fucking crazy because that not having that is what made you this motherfucker that you are today. Yeah. Because you realize that it's just it's on me to figure this shit out.
I want people to look to me. Yep. Right? Like, I want to be that option in someone's life where they need some, even if it's a fucking conversation. Keaton and I were talking about last night. I've lent Keaton large amounts of money. He's done things for me. And the biggest thing out of all of it is knowing that I have someone to call, right? So, like, that gives me option. If I don't have anyone to call for advice, or if I don't have an outlet, like, I'm trapped. I'm going to fucking sell in my head, and it goes back to not having freedom. But I have the freedom to solve problems by calling my friend. So I look to him. I want him to look at me, right? Like, and I think that the more resources you have, the more freedom you have. So I want to have resources with relationships. I want to have resources with money. I want to have resources with like fucking knowledge in my head, skill sets. And I think that's what makes you free. So that's the underlining thing in me always is fucking freedom.
Because now you get to live life on your own means, and you get to truly experience everything that you set out in your mind that you want to go and do, whether that be having the connections, having the car, because everybody's wired a little bit differently. But I love that shit. The last thing I'll ask both of you guys is, what's one tip do you just have for everybody on the other side of the screen that's just flat out just trying to level up, whether they're at that level 2, they've gotten the materialistic things, or maybe they're at a level that Rob's at, and they want to figure out what do I do? What's next? What piece of advice do you have for them that's just trying to level up?
Yeah, well, I'll speak to the individual that's like still trying to figure it out, right? One of the things that Danny and I were talking about earlier, and I heard him actually expressing, is like, you got to just start trying stuff to figure out what you really want to do. Don't sit there and try to have it all figured out and try to plan it perfectly, because you're going to wait forever. The best thing you could do is just fail forward, and you might try a couple different things that you don't want to do. Maybe you don't want to do sales, maybe you don't want to do coaching, and then you fall in love with that third thing, whatever it is. So failure is not a real thing. It's only a mindset, right? They're learning lessons. It's opportunity for growth, and it gives you perspective. Get your ass out there, take some action. You know, you're going to take some freaking knocks to the chin, but just keep going and keep moving forward. And I promise, it's hard to understand this when you're just starting out, but if you just don't quit and give up, you're going to get to a place in life that you really love, and you're going to find your momentum and find your groove.
I mean, he said it, right? He said it. I think that a lot of people are scared to take risks. And I think a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't. And the answer is simple. Dana said it on the way down here. Dana was like, be the best at something. Right? Like, Dana's making insane money right now. And she's just the best at working out. It's very fucking simple. And it's like, you look at me and it's like, oh, you're insanely creative. It's like, yeah, Keaton is the master at relationships, right? And I think that whatever skill you have, you can be like the one, whether it's in your friend circle or a larger friend circle. But I think a lot of people don't lean into a skill set because Keaton's skill set is friendship. And people don't look at friendship as like, this is going to make me $1 million a month. And it's like, no, being the best friend, learning how to leverage relationships, provide value, connect people, that's what brought us all here, right? That's what it is. It's relationship building. So I think that like whatever it is, my niece right now, right? And it's funny because my niece, you ask her what she wants to be when she grows up, and she says an ice cream maker. She likes ice cream. So in her head, the greatest job of all time is an ice cream maker. And like, you know, my brother and his sister, they're like, you don't want to be an ice cream maker, because they're thinking of like a $13 an hour employee. I hear ice cream maker and I'm like, fucking Haagen-Dazs. Like Haagen-Dazs is an ice cream maker. That's a fucking $1 billion brand, right?
That's perspective.
Ben and Jerry's is a $1 billion fucking brand. There's people that I follow online that like, if she at 11 years old wants to start making ice cream on YouTube, you know what sponsorship revenue could be for fucking all these different little ice cream makers, that are different products. Like that's the coolest thing about the world right now, is there's so many different options in every single direction. Like, you don't like take the weirdest thing that you're into and be the fucking best at it. But if you're into ice cream making and you're like, meh, you know, it's just this hobby.
You're fucked.
If it's just a hobby, fuck off. But like, if you really want to make some money, it doesn't matter what it is. Lean the fuck into it.
Can I say something to that real quick?
Go ahead.
This is why we come to these types of events. You see that perspective? No one thinks and talks like that. Most people, like Rob said, when their little kid says, I want to make ice cream, the first thing they think about is like, oh, you don't want to do that. You're not going to be able to survive. How are you going to make a living? But you see his perspective. He's seeing a whole different angle in the bigger picture. She could be a billionaire, right, on YouTube by the time she's 18, by the time she's 12. So it's like, this is why you get around people who think this way, because it starts to rub off on you. If you're around people that are small-minded, that's going to rub off on you too. So, I mean, that right there is invaluable. You can't buy that. You have to be around it to understand it and absorb it.
I'll close off on this, man, guys. Just everything they touched on. The biggest risk that you can take in life is taking no risk at all, doing nothing, staying in the same fucking spot the next month, the next year, 10 years from now, and not making any fucking plays. Listen, when I told him, when I met him, my dad passed away. I got into this zone where I'm like, nothing else what the fuck is the worst thing that's gonna happen? I went out the day after my dad passed away. I said, you know what? I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna hit the fucking gym. And I was in the fucking gym with my best friend, fucking crying, hitting curls. He's like, bro, just chill out. I said, no, bro, I fucking need this. I'm fucking crying, hitting curls. Because in that moment, if I can ground one of the most painful days, I'm gonna be good for the rest of my life. And so, most people, they don't want to take any risk. You know, when I went to go work for Andy L, when I was selling cars, making my first $100,000, I'm making everyone's like, oh, you're doing amazing, you're killing it. I'm like, well, what if I go out there? What if I go and do something? What if it's everything he says it's gonna be? Fuck it, I'm all in. And so what I would tell you guys, man, the biggest risk in life is taking no risk at all. Fucking bet on yourself every single time and watch how the world plays out, man.